Three. Here we go on Fishbowl Sports here. Thank you for tuning in here to Fishbowl Sports. I'm Chief, and I'm joined here by Jalen. This is Ragin Fishbowl. We are a Walmart creator partner. We have our own storefront, so you can get all your Raging Cajun gear at our affiliate link that is on our Facebook and all our social media pages here. But without further ado, let's introduce everybody to one of my good pals, Jalen. How you doing today, Jalen?
Hey, I'm doing well, Chief. How you doing this fine day?
It's raining outside. It's not too bad. This truck's gonna get washed away from all the pollen that's been on it for the last couple of days. Because that pollen everywhere right now. It's springtime's here, baby. So that's what it is. Where no matter what vehicle, what color vehicle it looks like, it's gonna look like yellow or that orange pollen is the dusting. So Jalen, let's talk about last weekend here for the Raging Cajuns here. Big win against number two LSU. I was at the game. LSU made a lot of errors in the field, but it was a big RPI win for the Cajuns. They're currently up there um, in RPI, and it's looking like it's setting up to be a very good season for the Cajuns. What do you think about this whole process with them going forward here for the Cajuns?
So far, so good. I think the Cajuns are playing great. They're playing great baseball. I think that at this point, before they even get to their series against South Alabama, starting off in the Sun Belt, I mean to be 13-4 says a lot for his team. 10-3 at home. I mean, they're playing great baseball. The pitchers are playing great. I mean, that big win against LSU, I like. And not only people don't realize, not only is that just because LSU, so they say is a rival or it's another Louisiana school, but they beat a national championship team at LSU that was highly ranked. That's going to help the Cajuns RPI close to the end of the season when they're trying to determine who's going to get into the big dance. But I think that win against LSU and keep it going, just winning that series against Dallas Baptist, beating UTRGV at the T. I think it's just, I think they would have beat McNeese too if the game was played, but the game was postponed for this evening. But I think the Cajuns have all the momentum going into their matchup against South Al, and the Cajuns are, yeah, they're just playing great baseball. A lot of these teams, though, in the Sun Belt, they're playing great so far. You look at the standings.
Yeah. I just realized if you're watching the stream that I was not thinking about. I was thinking about Southern Miss for some reason, and I misspelled the title. So I'm gonna go in there and correct that right now. Um, we're not talking about Southern Miss. It's
But
South
Southern Miss
Alabama.
is who they're trying to.
Yeah, who
Southern
they're
Miss is
trying to
next level
catch.
to
It was
eight.
yeah, because I think we were
Right,
having that
right.
conversation earlier. I'm losing my mind, y'all. I apologize if anybody's watching this live right now.
So that's what it is. That's what you were thinking about, Chief.
Yeah. You know what? Look, I'm glad somebody's got my back in this whole entire thing here. So let's,
Yes.
yeah. So let's go. Let me edit this post here real quick. So, Jalen, talk a little about South Alabama here real quick while I go in here and do a South Alabama miss. I don't know why I was thinking Southern Miss though.
One game in the loss column really separating two teams. But the thing that's going on right now about South Alabama is they're on a two-game losing streak, and it's not fun to lose games. And the fact that they have the Cajuns who up next who are playing hot, I think it's South Alabama is in for a rude awakening, especially come they got to make that trip to the T this Friday to play that three-game series. So uh, I'm not saying the Cajuns are going to sweep South Alabama, but I think they'll definitely win two out of three games in that series.
So, look, Cajuns got the pitching this year. They're gonna get the job done pitching here. Playing small ball has been very good for the Cajuns this year. Getting base hits and stuff. They're not hitting like big bombs consistently, but you don't need to whenever you're hitting the gaps and beating shifts that the opponents are doing, which comes down to good hitting. And there's more than one way to skin a cat, right? So that is a good way of looking at it there. So they're gonna. I think at Teague this weekend it's gonna be a very good atmosphere. Friday, March 13th, Saturday, March 14th, and Sunday, March 15th. Here is when they're back at home here. They had a 2 out of 3 this last weekend against Dallas Baptist, which was a big win for them here. So looking at the RPI ranks of these schools here, uh, last I checked was I think they were 12 or 13 with RPI. It, but yeah, they're right now they're 15th. They're 15 in RPI right now. Strength of schedule is 53. Their RPI wins here against 1 through 25 is 1 and 2. 26 through 50 is 6 and 1. But I like to look at the teams from 1 through 50 here and see how good of a ball club you are. So 7 and 3 is very impressive here in the top 50 because that's going to be a lot of your regional teams. And whenever your bottom half is 6 and 1, whenever you're because you've played a tough schedule, you played a regional power schedule here, so their their strength of schedule is going to go up when they play Southern Miss the last series of the year, and Coastal and all these other schools here because you're going to have tougher competition. The Sunbelt is a very tough conference when it comes down to baseball. They're probably the fourth best conference in college baseball today. So looking at that, there you got South Alabama, Houston, Texas State. Um, you know, Coastal's the last series of the year. Southern Miss, yeah, it's April 10th. I'm out of it today, guys. I'm not having a good day.
So
But yeah,
happens to
I,
you.
I I'm off today. But look, I'm just saying the fact is that when you look at this, I mean, this is shaping up to be a very good run for like ULM. They're having a good season. ULM's actually having a very good baseball. Typically, whenever they're like down, they don't normally have good baseball season. They're 9 and 9 so far this year. Usually, they're kind of having losing records and stuff. So, if you look at some of the other Sun Belt schools like ULM, like the one that's been kind of a doormat team for them this year. I mean, their RPI is 250 because they haven't really played anybody. There's 268, but they're still a 500 ball club. You are what your record says you are. So it's really hard to say here. So looking ahead at South Alabama and where they're currently at, they're 11 and 5 on the year so far. So, and this is opening conference weekend for both schools here. Their RPI is at 97. They've only played they played 5 games so far in the RPI top 50 for South Alabama. 3 and 2 so far this year is what we're seeing from them. So that is something to look at here. Whenever so the quality of teams that the Cajuns have played are better. So I think when we get down to talking about baseball and stuff here, as we go along a little bit further in this discussion, I think the Cajuns are going to probably win this series this weekend because I think that they're going to be able to do a very good job in that there. So um, I think the Cajun have good arms coming out the bullpen. You got Sawyer Pruitt, who's been phenomenal on the mound for the basically the whole entire season so far. Um, I mean it's season's about a month old, so it is early to get excited about anything. But you got to look at the prognosis here. I'm not trying to downplay what the Cajuns have done. I just don't want everybody to get everybody feelings kind of like you know, up in it, be like, okay, it's over. Like you're being a hater. I'm not being a hater. I've been to all the games so far. I've been to a lot of the games in the baseball season. So they haven't lost a series since they haven't lost back to back games since the Missouri State game, and that was the first 2 games of the year. And they gave away one of those games. They gave away the February 14th game. They went 11 innings and they had a big lead in that one, and they ended up like Missouri State got a 5 spot in the eighth, and that was in that game there. So, bringing that up there, this team, if they flip that around, we're looking at a team that's 14 and 4, and they haven't lost a single series yet this year, and that's because they gave up a big one big run inning. So, and with Sunbelt play starting here, I think the Cajuns are gonna look pretty good. Texas State's 12 and 4, Houston's 11 and 5. So this week coming up, it's gonna be kind of and like the next week coming up in the Texas State series, this is gonna be kind of a good series for the Cajuns. I think coming up here with South Alabama. Jalen, what you think?
Yeah, Chief, I definitely think it's going to be a great series. I mean, getting into Sunbelt baseball is kind of. I feel like every year kind of comes down to the wire, especially when you get to that tournament. But it's too early to talk about that now. Like you said, we're barely kind of a month in. But the Cajuns are playing great. I mean, you were able to be at home in sweet Maryland. I mean, getting wins against Kansas State. I mean, it's just. I think they're really on a tear right now. I think South Alabama is just another team that uh, the Cajuns are trying to mark off the list when it comes to that win column, and they're going to keep it going, keep the momentum going. I mean, even against Houston, that's right in the middle, but then you can't forget about Texas State too after that. So that trip is at San Marcos. So that's going to be a huge test right there for this ball club. But the Eggs got these guys playing some great baseball, and I love to see it.
The only thing I think you could make an argument to kind of like put a little like kink in the armor with the Cajuns, just kind of just throwing this out there for everybody to know. Uh, I do like that Deggs is aggressive, but sometimes it's too aggressive on the base pass. Or sometimes they try to take a little bit more and they get thrown out. I don't want them to be like game on the line and they need base runners and they're trying to be aggressive there. Because sometimes you just gotta take what you get. This team plays very good small ball, and that's the team they got right now. Um, you got a lot of guys hitting over. Like you got, they're hitting as a team right now. They're hitting 264, and opponents are hitting 230 so far on the field so far. So I mean, that's what you want as a team. They've with RBIs, they're 88. In terms of home runs, they've only hit 11 as a team so far. Opponents are doubling their home runs hit, but the Cajuns 88 RBIs, 82 for the opponent. So that's they're getting base runners on. They're winning games. So that's all you could do there with that. So let's look at pitching here real quick here because I think this is very important to kind of look at all these teams here. Sawyer Pruitt, 1.48 ERA, phenomenal. Herm, 2.84. Uh, Hayden Pearson coming out of the bullpen, 1.23. Parker Smith, 2.31. Cole Flanagan, 2.57. Great ERA numbers for the Cajuns. You have five pitchers that are below a 3-run ERA, and that's exactly what you want in your bullpen altogether. What you think about that, Jalen?
It's great, because a lot of clubs can't say they have that many pitchers that are doing that so far this season. And I know it's behind still clearly, but I still think the Cajuns are doing pretty great things in pitching. And I know coming into the season, pitching was like, oh, okay, who's going to be able to step up? Because everybody wants to talk about the injuries, but I mean, listen, if it's different without having Chase Morgan, but listen, the guys are doing their thing, and like I say, sort of Pruitt. I mean, these guys you just named. I mean, they're doing great. They just got to keep it up.
I'm just saying, if Chase Morgan comes back at the end of the year, right before, let's say, supers or regionals or whatever, if he does come back, that could prove to be big, huge deal.
Absolutely.
Cause like you get your ace, who was your ace last year, back right before regionals or super regional play happens, recover from an injury. That would be the shot in the arm that pitching staff needs, that extra, and that gives you a lot more tools as a head coach and decks and pulling the job that the pitching staff has had over the past year. Deggs made the right moves. Uh, from last season to this season, big complete turnaround pitching wise for the Cajuns here. That's just what has happened here. So, if you look at it here, getting if they get Morgan back, regional, super regionals, they could go deep in this postseason with the pitching they got. I'm very confident in saying that right here because they're running a good run right now. As always the thing here. You got to stay healthy, and no matter what sport it is, baseball does a lot of heat There's a lot of get hot, get cold kind of moments here that it has as a sport. So if the Cajuns can keep on running like they've been running here and go through the Sun Belt schedule here, they can very well, I think, win the Sun Belt regular season and conference title here, especially if they get a lot of, like especially if they get Chase Morgan back toward the end of the year. That could be a seal the deal kind of moment for the Cajuns here, I believe, because you're gonna have a lot of good arms to choose from, and it's a good it's a good problem to have, right? You're like, okay, who do I start today? But it's a good problem to have if you're the Cajuns in that situation there. So, Jalen, let's play around. Let's play around the predictor a little bit here. I think it's gonna be kind of let's just see what it says here. Remember we were talking about a 35. I was thinking like 35, 38 win season. The predictor is pushing this up right now, okay?
Mm-hmm.
It's got it at 41-15 on the year, 21-9 conference record. Great record. It's got them going 2-3 against South Alabama. I think they could sweep South Alabama, to be honest with you. It's got them dropping the series to Texas State. I honestly don't see that yet. I don't see it.
No, I don't either.
Uh,
Not to see it. No.
yeah, ULM got them sweeping. That's the predictor. If you're watching it live, it's the predictor making this mess here. McNeese has them winning later in the year when they go back on the road. James Madison, 2 out of 3. It's got okay. Next series has got them losing is Southern Miss, but Southern Miss has the number one RPI in all of college baseball, and that's impressive. They did pick up a midweek win against Ole Miss, so that is something to kind of look at here. That's gonna be a great series in Lafayette, April 10th through the 12th. Troy 3 game win streak. I mean 3 game series win, a sweep. Arkansas State 2 out of 3. Georgia State, it's got them sweeping. I'm trying to see what it's got them winning the series against Coastal. That's big too. Those two series are gonna be huge. It's gonna be, and you know what? The Cajuns both get them at home, so that sets up very well in postseason play here. I can see the Cajuns sweeping South Isle. I could definitely see that. But I do think that a 2 out of 3 the predictor is probably correct there. I think South Isle might get the win on Sunday, maybe. Um, I mean, the predictor has them dropping Saturday, but I think the Cajuns can handle them on Saturday here. But I wouldn't be surprised to see a sweep though either. I think there's a very good possibility that that could potentially happen there for them there. So I think overall, I think it's good here. How you see that series playing out for the Cajuns, Jalen?
Yeah. So, we talked about the whole series of South Al. I think they're taking 2 out of 3. Um, and then going further from there, I think they'll beat Houston and Texas State. I don't see them dropping that. I see them going to San Marcos taking 2 of 3, and then preparing for that next week's game, midweek game against Southeastern. So I think the Cajuns are going to be on the road. I feel like they take a couple losses, but overall, I think they're going to win those series.
Yeah, I think that's a very good way of looking at it there. I think taking a series is a very good thing here. How you feel like if you had to make a weakness for this team here? Like I talked about base running and stuff, but where you feel like this team doesn't quite. Now they're a great team, but I want people to kind of be wary of something and kind of watch it a little bit more closely here. What you think?
Yeah, kind of, when you say base running, I definitely think that's one thing at the top. But I think also, when you add to base running, I think they need to be more aggressive. I know Coach Diggs over the years, he wants those guys to steal those bases. He wants them to make those double plays. He wants making those great plays that we've seen uh, the Raging Cajuns baseball team done in the past. I know that's in the past, but this team can be really special, and especially if Chase Morgan comes back. Like that's your ace, that's your guy. But I think it's like a little. I know it's still early in the season, but still a little bit more. I want to see a little bit more aggression with this team. They'll be able to make even more plays and get even more wins, especially against great competition.
You know what? You know what I was thinking about Southern Miss is because Raging Cajun softball is playing Southern Miss this weekend. So yeah, I just kind of crossed the
Um,
sports. I was wondering where I was like, man, I was like, softball is gonna be they came up with a loss, against Oklahoma, which man, that was a good game on Sunday. I don't know if anybody else watched it, but they played their hearts out on Sunday. So they got a 3-game series against Southern Miss here. They're gonna be on the road in Hattiesburg. The Cajuns will be. Making sure I got everything kind of going up here. We're gonna talk about some Louisiana Ragin Cajun softball here. So let's look at team team here. Look at their RPI and stuff before we go any deep into the series here. So the thing with the softball team is they're just inconsistent at times. There's like they'll pull off a great win and they'll lose to a team that doesn't really have not really doing too great here. If you're looking at the mid major rankings here for this was in week 5. I think this is week 5. I want to make sure that we got everything right here. D1 softball ranked them at 22nd in the mid major rankings. So look, I mean, they're good. They're a good team this year. I think they'll make a regional. I'm still going to be sticking with that. I know I said that last year and it didn't pan out that way, but I do think that they played a tough non-conference schedule. So that overall record is I think that's going to help them better for conference. I think it really does. When you play teams like Oklahoma and you play teams like LSU, Florida State, Ole Miss, you got a couple of top 25, and Michigan State as well. You got some top 25 wins, and Texas A&M. You got some top 25 wins. Just make it go happen. You got Southern Miss, Texas State, and your next 2 series. You got the Southern Miss series on the road, then Texas State at home. Texas State is one of the best teams in or supposed to win. I think win the Sun Belt this year. Um, in the preseason records and stuff. So
For you.
yeah, they do. So looking at our versus RPI teams, this is where the difference between baseball and softball is a little bit different this year. So the 1 through 50, I like to look at the most and see how well you do against good competition. The Cajuns are 2-7. Now we'll add this to be a point here. A lot of these losses and these versus RPI in this range here have come on playing on two games in a single day, which is very tough to do for both teams, right? So I mean, is that an excuse? I'm not making excuses for them, but we do have to take that in effect whenever regionals happen and stuff. That you will have to play 2 teams in a row. So that is something that they're gonna have to get better at winning these 2 games back to back being played in a single day. So they have to, get better at trying to like win both these games here. Now, granted, easier said than done. They've been able to do it in the past. Right now, their strength of schedule is on 96 here. Non-conference strength schedule is 96 for them. So they if they would have won some of these like 101 and 200 RPI, I think they're 6-2, 51 to 100, 4-1. If they would have won those like games that we talked about being dropped, they would be a lot better up on this list here. Like if you take away, those 3 losses there and put them in the wins, we're looking at a 19-7 record for the Cajuns, and that looks a whole lot better than 16-10. Just from perspective reasons, with the committee and stuff. So that is something to look at as we go through this season here. So, what are some takeaways in that Oklahoma 2-game series against Oklahoma that you saw this past weekend in Norman, Jalen?
Cajun softball, just they flat out just got beat in that first game on Saturday against Oklahoma. They took an L, 10-0. That's understandable, but they might have lost the next game against Oklahoma. But I think coming from that game itself, it showed the fight that the girls had. They only lost. They lost 2-1. I mean, just imagine if one one or two hits and they would have beat Oklahoma. Oklahoma in softball, that's not the easy feat. Oklahoma's always known as one of the best softball teams for years, probably even decades if you want to go back that far. But I think they played great. But like you said, it's just been a kind of inconsistent season. Um, even like going like I thought they could have really beat LSU. I didn't see them losing the Prairie View. Just games like that where yes they would have won. We're talking about adding marquee wins to them. You're talking about LSU and Oklahoma. So, um, yeah, I think it's kind of been back and forth with the team so far, but they have the talent. The talent's there. They just have to get it all together.
So if you look at the Cajuns have a lot of bats batting over 300. Liscano is at 410. Haley Hart 366 here. Now the Sun Belt, freshman of the year last year, Emily Smith here is only batting at 239, so she's in a slump, but hopefully she could break out of it, and start pumping up her numbers some. Here I do know that she is among the leaders of the team in home run hits for the year. Brooke Otto has six. Kennedy Marceau, the transfer from Alabama, she's got five. Emily Smith has five. So whenever she does, like she's still got good power and stuff. Not taking that away, but 239, she's one of the lowest on the team. So the Cajuns have, let's see, I'm trying to see how many 300 and above average hitters they have. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10 throughout the whole roster. They have 10 players batting above 300. So I know, granted, some of these players, they like Lillian Soto, she's uh, only played in 9 games and started one. So, I mean, those numbers are like, like they're not really too much high, but look, that's just the way it is right now. They got some good pitching going on so far here. Bethany Noble with a 1.8 ERA. Lexi Delbray 3.5. I would like the number to be a little bit lower because she does have the second best number on the team, but 3.5 isn't terrible. You can win games with that. But I think a 3.0 is kind of where you want to be as a pitcher here. Because anything more than that, you're kind of, letting them kind of get away from you a little bit there. But I do think that this softball team is on the right path here, and they're getting a really good job going there. So I do think that's just going to be one of those things that we're going to see here when we get further down the road and stuff. So I think this is something that this team can build on here. So looking ahead here, Jalen, do you think this softball team makes it to the regionals here? And how well you see them playing in Sun Belt Conference play?
I do see this as of right now. I do see this team making it to the big dance, to a regional. I absolutely do. But it's gonna be hard fought. I mean, the the softball standings right now. You have App State is right there at the top. They're on a 6 game win streak. Marshall's on an 8. Georgia State's 4. And you can't forget about Texas State, who we just said earlier is one of the best, have a great softball team every year. So it's going to be some competition for this Cajuns team. The great thing for them is, like you said, they played these non-conference games that'll help build them up. But it's gonna be tough. And they're not. I'm not too sure yet if I see them winning the Sun Belt. But hey, the tournament is a whole different story. But as far as the regular season, yeah, it's going to be tough. But if they can win these games against those teams I just named, they're going to have a phenomenal season.
Southern Miss is 18-10 so far this year. Looking at their RPI, they're 114. Against top 50 RPI teams, the Cajuns are playing against Southern Miss this weekend. That's why we're pulling up their RPI numbers here. They're 0-3 against teams ranked in the top 50 of RPI, 2-4 against. So if you want to add all that together, the Southern Miss is 2 and let's see, 2-7 against RPI teams ranked 100 or better. So their strength of schedule is 206. So I think the Cajuns are going to win this series this weekend. I don't know if they're gonna sweep them. That would be a tough ask to do. But I think 2 out of 3 this weekend would prove the Cajuns to be very good to see what happened there. I do think they're gonna get kind of toward the top of the Sun Belt this year. Uh, I believe in the Cajuns this year. What you thinking, Jalen?
Yeah, I think the Cajuns 2 out of 3 against Southern Miss. And you look at last year's team; they finished in the top 5 in the Sun Belt. I think they'll be right back there this year, probably even higher than they were last year. So I have faith in this team also. I say 2 or 3 against Southern Miss.
I do think they're kind of like on that bubble of regional teams, though. Like I will say that I think right now from what we saw in the first 26 games of the season here, that I think Sun Belt play is going to determine a lot if they're going to get into the NCAA tournament with the regional stuff. It's gonna depend on the Sun Belt Conference play, and that's because they've played a tough schedule with their non-conference. Mixed in like with some really tough teams, so that might actually benefit. Like I said, might benefit them playing the Oklahomas, Ole Misses of the world, Texas A&M's, that kind of thing. So that is something that we could look at here, and as we plan on, we can keep going further on down the road here. So thank y'all for tuning in here to this episode here of Visual Sports. We hope you have a wonderful day here. Y'all stay dry. It has been raining around here in Acadiana here, so yeah, we just want to thank y'all for tuning in here. We're gonna have a little more fun here later on. We love doing this podcast here. So y'all go y'all go buy stuff from our storefront on Walmart Creator. We are partners with Walmart. In addition to that, go stop by our boys at Team Whiskey. They got some good stuff. Make sure to tell them Fishbowl sent you. Fishbowl Sports. Hope you have a great and wonderful night. We're gonna see y'all here next time here on Fishbowl Sports. Have a good night, Fishbowl Nation.